Hey all, I wanted to make a video on weed, how it affects me differently than others, and to teach you why you shouldn't peer pressure someone who doesn't want to smoke. When I was 15 years old, I got high for the first time. I smoked weed before, but did not get high. This was the time I felt it though, and I definitely knew why this drug was so popular. I remember I smoked it out of a bong and I was blown away. I was with my friend at the time and we had to walk back closer to my house and we were laughing at every single thing imaginable. I bought some Doritos from a grocery store and we went to McDonald's to eat it. Once we got there, we were still dying laughing and I started dancing on one of the tables and my friend was laughing so hard, but also trying to get me to calm down. We left and my mom had to take him home, and on the drive to his house, I brought these cookies with me and I started eating like 5 of them, and these were big sugar cookies too. My mom was a little suspicious, but didn't ask about it. When we got back home, I put on The Wizard of Oz, as it was one of my favorite movies, and I was just in awe of how beautiful it was. It was probably the greatest experience watching that movie ever. After this experience, I always wanted to get my hands on some more weed, and for a couple years afterward, I did exactly that. I'd smoke, get high, laugh, get the munchies, and sprinkle in some paranoia and anxiety each time, slowly. I had some really great times getting high and doing other things mixed with it. My paychecks I would get would go towards weed. A couple people from around my area would always smoke with me. We'd match and everyone would get high. That was the greatest I ever felt from it. Unfortunately though, the more I smoked, the more paranoid and anxious I would get. I remember in my senior year of high school, my paranoia got so bad that when that clown thing started happening where they were killing random people in America, kids at this high school football game were joking around and screaming, "Clowns!" And so I thought they were actually clowns, and I ran out of the stadium and was trying to get as far away as possible. I lived like 2 miles away, so I was just heading home. I started hearing police sirens coming closer and closer to me as I was walking, and when they finally passed me, they shut the sirens off. In my head, I was just like, what the fuck? And I still don't know what that was all about. But anyways, my paranoia and anxiety became so unbearable after a while that I just chose to not smoke and only do it every once in a while, which I still do to this day. What I wanted to bring awareness to in this video is the fact that weed hits everyone differently. Not just for weed though, that goes for any substance. Why I want to bring this up is because I get countless comments on my videos that have become a pet peeve at this point. Every video I always get a comment about how the story is fake, and you can look too, it's there. People have no clue that substances react differently with different people. They think since that never happened to them personally, it's automatically fake. They also want to judge the person who took it, but have no clue how that person was raised and whatnot. 250 milligrams of Benadryl might give you a light euphoric feeling, but another person might see the Hat Man on that dose. It all depends on the person. I personally have a higher tolerance to alcohol, even though I don't drink more than 3 to 4 times a month, but I know some people that can get wasted off of 1 or 2 beers. Also, I did a video the other day, and one of the stories was about Kratom. The person in the story got liver damage just by taking Kratom once. Something in our genetic makeup makes some people react differently to drugs. Personally, that has never happened to me on Kratom, but I'm not going to call bullshit on the person's story just because I've never experienced such a thing like that. That's why I'd like to talk about how weed affects me compared to others. When I smoke now, I have to prepare to be super anxious and paranoid from the start. I could just be relaxing, and then the worst thoughts cross my mind out of nowhere. Mind you, I believe I already have anxiety, but I've never gotten it diagnosed, so I won't know for sure. I have all the symptoms for it, and it's just a no-brainer to me that I have some form of it. The anxiety I have is expanded tenfold when I smoke. I automatically think people are out to get me. I don't believe that my friends are actually my friends, and they're just forced to hang out with me and pity me. I think all the stupid things I've said recently, and just smack myself in the face for regretting saying anything in the first place. I start to shake and have deep regrets about smoking. Then, after like an hour, I become very peaceful and relaxed, like none of that shit ever happened to me. That feeling is so nice, and I crave that all the time, but I have to suffer before I get to that level of high. It really sucks that this happens to me because I used to smoke all the time and I would feel great. None of the anxiety or paranoia would ever hit me, and I would smoke a lot too. For me to get this anxious nowadays, all I have to do is take one big hit from the bowl. Yes, I'm being serious about that. It does not take a lot for me to get high. That's why when I smoke now, I like to take 2 little hits, and that does help. I still get more anxious and paranoid than usual, but it is not as bad as taking a big hit. Getting crossfaded with weed and alcohol is even worse. My heart starts racing so fast, and the anxiety is terrible. It's funny because drinking usually has me feeling no anxiety, paranoia, or even depression, but when I mix these 2 substances, I feel like I'm actually going to die. This always happens too, because I always make lousy judgments while drinking, and I believe that I won't feel anxious this time if I take some big hits, and I'm always wrong. I find out the hard way and have to suffer through it. I start to get anxious about drinking, and I start to believe I'm poisoning myself with the alcohol, which you technically are, but I just get caught in a deep thought loop. This is why I want to bring awareness to this matter, because substances affect everyone else differently. I remember watching an interview with 21 Savage saying he doesn't smoke because it makes him too paranoid, and he prefers drinking lean. Like, we all know lean is by far worse than weed, but it makes him feel better than he would by smoking. A lot of you understand that, but there are some of you that don't. I'm not trying to attack anyone here. I just can't stand seeing the same comments in my videos about how the stories are fake. If we had this kind of logic, then that would mean every story I've ever read on this channel has been fake. That doesn't sound very realistic to you, now does it? Now, there probably are fake stories out there, I'm not going to deny that, and some stories could be exaggerated for the dramatic aspect, but overall, these stories I choose to read on my channel are real, especially the ones I read from Arrowhead, because it needs to go through a process to be accepted and reviewed to see if it's a real story. So just know that before you make a comment. I thought this could be a little informational video. You learned about my experiences with weed and how it affects me. A lot of people can smoke weed and have no issues whatsoever, but there are people out there who are just like me. I wanted to show you that side of weed. If someone doesn't want to smoke with you, do not force them. I remember I gave one of my old girlfriends a piece of an edible about the size I would eat, and she started shaking uncontrollably and was definitely having a panic attack. She lied to me before though and told me she smoked, but I guess she just wanted to look cool around me. I don't know. Edibles hit me the worst. I'll be anxious and paranoid for like 6 hours. I'll never do another edible again. I hope you all could take something from this video and to not judge others for reacting differently to certain substances. We are all different and we should all know that. Same goes for people who act differently sober. People have gone through traumatic experiences, and we can't assume they are just like you and me, because they are not. Something traumatic happened to me that I will never talk about, but that's why I'm so empathetic towards people who have suffered, because I can see where they're coming from. One small thing can trigger them off, and we should all be very kind to people that you know have suffered. Now, if you don't know something happened to them, then that's different. But if you see someone who acts differently and is very adamant about certain things, just be kind to them and to everyone. Thank you for listening to me talk about this. I've been wanting to get it off my chest for a while now, and I hope we can all move forward with greater knowledge than before. Have a wonderful day, and stay safe out there, trip seekers. Peace.
What's a man do when there's nothing left to be done?